And WAGNN stands for
We ain't got no name.
We ain't got no name. We ain't got no name. We ain't got no name. No name.
Hello, everybody. It's a wonderful day in the WAGNN world. We are here to introduce episode 4.
Cuatro.
You and these Spanish numbers, yo. At least I'm prepared this time. Last time I wasn't prepared with tres. Okay. We're here with episode 4 to discuss with you a hot topic that we find a lot of people struggling with, which is expectations in relationships. Oftentimes we go into relationships with expectations, and sometimes our expectations are realistic, and oftentimes they are unrealistic.
Delusional.
Yes. So before we get into this topic, I just want to explain to everyone that there are 3 types of expectations and or boundary levels. When you enter a relationship, sometimes you have unrealistic expectations, such as rigid and porous expectations. So let's start with rigid. Rigid is, in other words, no room for error or no room for flexibility. So therefore you hold your partner to a very strict standard, and there's no gray area. And oftentimes in relationships, there are a lot of gray areas. The other set of expectations are porous expectations or boundaries, and that means that anything goes. At whatever times, you accept whatever person gives you, and that is considered porous. There are no boundaries. You just accept whatever comes. And then, obviously, there are healthy boundaries where you're able to compromise. There's a give and take. And in all honesty, healthy relationships or expectations or boundaries, there is a compromise. Not necessarily accommodating a person and their needs, because that can be unhealthy because you lose what you need best from your partner. So in this episode, we're going to talk about lists that we go into our relationship having. You know, some may think that you have to make $100,000. You have to have a 4-year degree, or you must have, or
6'5" with a 6-pack.
Right. Body, physical expectations. You know, like you said, you have to have a good body, whatever that is. Work out at the gym, or, you know, you have to have a strict regimen as to how you are supposed to live your life. So we're going to just dive on in. And we're going to talk about these expectations or these lists that people go into their relationships. Are they real? Are they realistic or not?
Sometimes I feel, speaking from a single person's point of view, I feel like we go into relationships expecting a lot, and then become disappointed when they don't meet those expectations, if you will. I feel like some people aren't honest about what they're going into relationships for. You know, I feel like if we're out here and we're single and we're dating, and it has to be some type of a end process, because are you going to date for the rest of your life? You know, like is there something that you're looking for, and if it is, what is it? You know what I mean? Are you working towards it? Is it something that it needs to be? I feel when you're dating and you're out there, you need to tell people exactly what you're looking for. If you're just looking for somebody to have sex with, say that. You know what I mean? If you're looking for something more than just a girlfriend-boyfriend type of relationship, and you're looking for marriage, how long are you waiting for that next step? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we need to go into relationships nowadays knowing exactly what we want and stating what we want, instead of expecting people to know what you want. People are not psychics, and we don't walk around with crystal balls. You need to speak up, right, and say what you want.
So I know, like, when I remember my first date, real date, with somebody who I truly cared about, I'm married to him now, but still. When do you have those hard conversations? Do you have that right out the gate on the first date? How do you deal with that? How do you ask those questions, or when do you ask those questions? Because there's a lot of people who feel that they should just on the first date. I happen to disagree with that. That's just me. But when you're on your first date and, you're feeling that person and you think that person is feeling you, is that the best time to just say everything?
No, I don't think so, because you need another date. You got to set up another date. You know what I mean? Especially if it's somebody that you like and you feeling like that, you're not going to give them everything one shot. You know what I mean? You want to keep them coming back.
Right.
You want to keep fishing for information as well. If you give everything on the first day, it's going to be like, well, I really don't think we need to go on date number 2. I know everything. Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't think you need to give everything that first date. Now, if you're trying to get rid of the person, you can. Because I've done that before. Like, you know what? So what are you expecting in relationships? And I'll run down the whole gamut. They like, well, damn, we ain't even get to the restaurant yet.
You didn't even get to dessert.
Take me home now.
Didn't leave the parking lot.
And that's it. I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you're not feeling the person, you're going to tell them whatever. But if you are feeling the person, you're going to want date number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then eventually years. And then we get to them questions about, well, so what are we doing?
Okay.
I think it's like an ongoing conversation. The conversation just kind of evolves. Mm-hmm. And as the relationship evolves, those conversations become actually harder to have. So I think you can start out like your first date. Hey, what's your 5-year plan? What is your goal? What do you want out of life? You can get from the gate. If the guy is like, if you're looking for marriage and the guy is like, yeah, I'm not really into marriage. In 5 years, I just want to be me, my dog, and a girl that I'm dealing with, kind of on and. All right, you got your answer. No need for date 2. Keep it moving.
Right.
Now, if you find you're on the same page, then later on, it's like, okay, what are we going to, you kind of develop, I guess, where is the relationship going? Like, okay, are we exclusive? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do about meeting the family or whatever? Do you see marriage in the future? Those conversations become harder to have. Right. And I think for me personally, they're very hard. They're very hard to have. Because people, your mind can change. People change all the time. So you can get the whole, yes, I want to be married and everything. The person can want to be married. They don't necessarily want to be married to you. So people can get, yes, this guy wants to be married. Yes. We're going to keep going. Then 5 years later, it's like, what happened? He said he wants to be married. He ain't mean you.
So even looking at these questions, it is a good point. Looking at these questions, there are still some questions that people do not think about that are very important before we get to the marriage, before we get to even the 5-year plan. Let's talk about how you are right now. For example, and this is one thing that I like, well, back then, not now. I don't ask nobody these questions now. However, let's be clear. How a person treats their parents and their relationship with their parents. Do you think that? I think that's an important quality to get to know somebody. Now, not everybody's going to have the perfect upbringing or the perfect relationship with their parents. However, you can see how a person thinks about family from that question.
I would have to agree with that. That yes, you can get a little insight as to how a person will treat you depending on how they treat their family. I definitely agree with that, because once they get comfortable with you, everything else is you one of them now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And however they treat them, that's how they're going to treat you. And I mean, you can't complain about it because you've seen it.
Right.
Depending on how long you guys been together. Right. You know what you're going to put up with versus what you're not going to put up with in any kind of relationship.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that because I'm from the school of thought that you treat people accordingly. So if I treat my family like trash, that could be because that's our interaction, because they treat me like trash. That does not necessarily mean that I'm going to treat you that way. That's just,
Right.
you know, I treat people accordingly.
Right.
Family don't get a pass. Family doesn't get a pass to treat me like trash. So
right.
you're going to get that energy right back. But
You can catch it, family.
right. But if I'm with you and, you know, and things are going well, I'm going to treat you well. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. Like people always say, like, you can tell how a man values a woman by how they treat their mother. But then I've seen situations where they don't hold their mothers in the highest regard for what their mothers have done or what they have seen. But the person that they're with, they treat them like a queen.
Right. And that's why it's important to have the conversation.
Right.
Only because, you know, you can't. I agree with you. I agree with both of you. You know, yes, how a person treats their family does tell a lot about them. However, if the upbringing was different and they still can value another, you know, a woman or another man, you know, for those men who are listening out there, you know, it's important to have the conversation just to see how that person thinks. And that's why we have conversations, to see how a person thinks. Not to soothe how you feel and for you to get the answers that you want. The true meaning of having a conversation is to see how a person thinks. That's why the English language, depending on what adverb you use, depending on what verb you use, it would tell you a lot about a person just listening to language and linguistics.
You're right.
If you ignore those signs, the person probably told you exactly what they were thinking and what they were feeling. However, you ignored the linguistics. That's why going to English class is important, and understanding grammar is important, because you'll find out all you need to know based on the words that people use. So that's why being a conversationalist and listening is very important to hearing what a person has to say and interpreting that information and using it for judgment reasons, you know, making a decision about who you will date versus who you will not.
Because even like, you know, they always say, if you know better, you do better. So if you're not exposed to, if you are around, like, for instance, let's say you have a father who was a womanizer, right? So that's what you grew up seeing. Then that's how you treat women. All it takes is one to be like, no, this is not how you're going to treat me. And if you, this is how I expect to be treated. And if you want to deal with me, this is how you are going to treat me.
Right.
And they do that. For example, the person that I'm with, that's their thing, to like just call women bitches. That's the thing. However, I had to let them know up front, you can't address me like that. And never, not once in the years, that has he ever called me out my name. Because I laid my expectations out there. This is how you're going to talk to me. Don't call me out my name. Don't even raise your voice at me.
Right.
All right, cool. And there's never been an issue with that.
And it doesn't even have to take, you know, neck popping.
No. And that wasn't even out of a conflict. That was out of what I observed, how he interacted with his friends. Like, okay, that's how you do it. I need you to filter it with me. That's all. And
that's from the beginning. That's not after you've been called a bitch for like 8 times in 5 months.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you decide, I don't think I like this. Any behavior that you do not like, you have to say it ahead of time so that the person don't develop the habit for you or with you. I totally agree with that.
Me too.
If there's an expectation, it is okay to set the expectation. Like, I don't even like my friends calling me out my name.
I agree.
I didn't said that. What you say? Who you calling to be? UNITY? Queen Latifah? Absolutely not. You know, not doing that. And it goes with people that you're dating. You have to set the expectation ahead of time. Like I tell some of my folks, if you are going to cook every day for your mate, be prepared to cook every day for the rest of your life. Now, I'm not saying never cook a meal, because that'll be wrong. However, if you get them in the habit of, let's say, washing clothes on Tuesday, and you have a bad day on Tuesday, you need to wash it on Friday, they're going to expect you to wash clothes on Tuesday.
And
Then have an
questioning
attitude
you, yep.
exactly about how come my drawers ain't done, or how come my white tees aren't clean, because you didn't switch it up. You got them used to a specific routine. So as just like you said, if there's an expectation that you have, it's okay to set it up front so that everybody is aware. Awareness is key in relationships.
Communication is key too.
Communication.
Comprehension
Yes.
is key.
Oh my gosh! Can you say it again?
Comprehension,
people
are
is
communicating and the message is still not getting across.
Can we say that one time together?
Comprehension is key.
You cannot expect a man to comprehend what you're saying, female, because he thinks differently than a female does, and vice versa. We all have to be on the same page. It's okay to say, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because some people get offended when you ask them, why are people so hypersensitive nowadays?
Everybody's hypersensitive.
You get offended by everything. You get offended by somebody asking you a simple question, especially if we're in a relationship. And if you have a relationship, hello, I need to be asking questions.
I'm gonna ask.
I'm going to ask too. And you better answer, because you're not leaving until I get my
I
answer.
just never understood that. But communication is definitely key in all relationships.
Yeah. And
Period.
And that is the beginning of any relationship. You can't move forward if communication is lacking. And that's why we're making the point to say that it's okay to ask questions, but also listen and comprehend what the person is saying.
If you don't understand, say you don't understand.
Say it.
Don't just go on thinking, all right, I think I understand. Well,
Yeah.
maybe he or she meant this. Nah, ask. If you don't know, ask.
Well, you know what? A lot of times guys say it and they say it plain.
And we choose not to listen to
Right.
it.
I
That
know
too.
girls that have chosen not to listen or been like, I
I've been
heard
there.
you. I heard you. I'm going to soak it up, but I'm going to change you.
Right.
I'm going to change your mind. No, you're not.
And that's
He
where
said
we
he
fall
don't want to
into
be in a
trap.
relationship. Guess what, girl?
He don't
You
want
don't
to
want
be
to
in
be
a
in a
relationship.
Or he doesn't want to be in a relationship with you.
Woo. Powerful. Get the hint. What are some of those hints when a person don't want to either communicate or be in a relationship with you?
Ringing down their phone and they ain't answering.
What's that in this day? That's called...
Sending out text messages and they ain't responding.
Isn't that called ghosting?
Ghosting. that's
Ghosting somebody?
Yeah, that's ghosting.
If you ghost
Or
somebody?
blanking
Yeah.
them.
Blanking them?
Yeah, just blank. You don't hear nothing. You
Just
don't
blanking
see
them.
nothing.
You're ghosting. You're blanking.
You don't hear nothing.
Like,
There's a blank over there.
silence. Yeah. How often should a person, like, how often should a person text another person and not get an answer? How many texts should you...
My
should that
limit
be?
is 3.
Like you'll send a text 3 times and if they don't respond.
Not in a row. 3 different occasions. If I send a text to you right now and you don't respond, I'll wait. I'll send a second text and you still don't respond. After the 3rd text, you're done. I'm good. I'm deleting your number and all of that. I don't want to hear from you.
Oh, I send one text. If you don't respond, I'm just like the
I'm gonna give
conversation's
you. I'm
just
gonna
going.
give you a chance.
I'm like I don't know what
So the
happened.
3 strikes you outrule.
That's how I function.
That works
Whether
too.
it's a text or a phone call or whatever. But if I reach out 3 different times, not back to back to back to back, but if I reach out 3 different times, separate occasions, and I get no answer,
Right.
no holler back, I ain't calling you back.
So, for example, if you went on a date with someone, you know, not a Netflix and chill date, because that's not a date for all of you involved.
No, it's not.
Okay?
No, it's
not a date. So you go out on a date, let's say to a dinner and a movie.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
That's
date.
the worst kind of date?
That's the worst kind of date for a first date. I
Oh, for a
really,
first
I
date?
truly believe dinner and movie.
Okay, so give a scenario of a good date, and then I'll ask my question.
just dinner.
Oh, dinner.
Just
Okay,
dinner.
so you go
something
out.
where you can talk and engage, and you can't do that in
Right.
a movie.
That's true.
See, okay, so I beg to differ because I want to talk about the movie. So it doesn't have to be dinner and a date. It could be movie, than dinner. So that's a
Well, that's 'cause there's a
conversational
piece
piece.
in there, yeah.
Right.
I'm about to say the movies is expensive these days, so most
It
people aren't doing
is.
dinner in a movie.
You
They're
right.
doing one or the other.
So, okay, for those of you who feel you have to choose between the date or, the movie or the dinner, we just going to do the dinner, okay?
For a first date, sometimes some guys be like, "Listen, I'm not spending all this money
You're
on
right,
you."
because the popcorn has changed
Listen.
from the time that I used to go to the movies to
Listen.
get popcorn.
It's like
so-
$95 for a small.
Yo, it's $100 for me to take for all of us to go to the movies. It's a
Right.
family of 4.
Right.
Okay?
That's
okay.
ridiculous.
So let's get back to the point, guys.
And don't go to the dining with the drinks. Ooh, you easily spend 125 plus on two
So let's
people.
do just the dinner.
Okay,
Let's
just
just do the
dinner.
dinner at a diner.
Okay.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, dinner at a diner.
Applebee's 2 first, half off.
Boom.
Next
Bam.
time.
Okay. I want the chicken wonton tacos. So you go to Applebee's for a date and you're having a conversation. And things went great on the date. You go home. You might give a kiss. Like, "Mwah, it was nice. Okay, we'll chat later."
The Kevin Hart voice.
Yeah.
Mwah,
Mwah. Stop it. So you go out on your date, you go home, and in your mind, things went well. And you might send a text like, "You know what? I had a good time. Maybe we should do this again."
Mm-hmm.
You hear the silence?
Okay.
Because there was no reply.
Okay.
That's one. Then you say, well, maybe that person fell asleep and they didn't see my text. Maybe I'm going to say, "Good morning. How are you? I hope all is well. Hopefully we can link up again." You hear that too?
Yeah.
Silence. Nothing. Third time. "Well, is everything all right? Are you okay? Are you sick?" And then again, there's silence. What do you do then?
Definitely ain't hollering back after that. Just suck it up and take that as a loss. That's it.
Okay.
Move
It's
on.
not getting to text too, because the thing with this iPhone, people have delivered and read receipts. So
Yes,
that
yes,
means
people
at
do have
minimum
that.
you got my text message saying, "I had a great time. Maybe we can do this again." I'm gonna just wait until you respond, and it is gonna be what it is. If you don't respond, we ain't doing it again.
But do you think that's a punk way of like backing out of a situation? Why can't people just say, "You know what? I don't think we meshed well.
They should say
We
it,
ain't getting there
They
ain't gonna be
should
no
say
date
it.
number 2."
right?
No, instead they're going Hot 97 and do a full review of the relationship, and then the person's on the phone anonymously like, "No, I wasn't down with it. I couldn't stand
Right.
you." Instead, you
Right.
know, I think social media is a punk way of not communicating. It makes it easier for people to say to show that they're not interested.
I
Instead
would
of
rather
talking
you
to
just
them.
tell me. Because if I was feeling you and you just ain't feeling me, I would rather you just tell me so I don't look like a fool or feel like a fool texting you or wondering what the hell's going on when I thought we was vibing.
Right.
Just be honest. If you ain't feeling me, you ain't feeling me. We grown. I thought we was grown.
You know, a lot of people use that term, "I'm grown,"
But
to-
don't act near bit of grown.
to hide that they're not grown.
I think you don't know what you don't know. People think they know how to communicate and they
Right.
don't. That's what it really comes down to. And it could also be sometimes people don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Like, I don't want to tell you I'm not interested. That your breath smelled
I
and I don't want to see you no more.
I
So-
gotta say, I'll probably be the one to not call you back and just ghost you.
You see, there she goes.
Look,
See what
there
I'm
I
saying?
go. That's the truth. I'm like,
See what I'm saying?
At least you tell her the truth, though.
that's the truth. I because I don't want to hurt another person's feelings.
Right.
That would be my reasoning
Right.
behind
I'm
it.
sitting here trying to think if I ever go somebody. I don't know.
Whoa, I did something crazy one time. I didn't ghost the person, but I wanted to make it, the date wasn't going well. This was years ago. The date wasn't going well. And I was like, okay, I don't want to have to tell him, so I'm going to have to show him that this date's not going well. I hit up my homegirl. I'm like, come to the restaurant. She showed up. Hey, girl, come sit down with us and join us on a date. And clear there, I'm not interested because my friend just joined us on our date.
Wow,
That was so bad.
you did that?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Luckily, he ended up being cool with her too, but it was kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, but we're still cool.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like I'm just letting you know we're just friends. It's not going any
So
further
you didn't
want to
hurt their feelings either.
No, because he was cool. He was
Right.
a friend. He wanted to take it further.
Right.
I didn't know until it was like hey, let's go out to eat, which it's not abnormal at the time. It wasn't abnormal for me to go out to eat with like one of my guy friends or not. But then he was like, yeah, you know, I'm so excited I'm going on this date with you. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Date. DATE.
Yeah, sometimes I think
Right.
sometimes people misconstrue things, just like what she's saying, because in her mind it probably was just as simple. I'm going out for dinner with my homie, and in his brain it's like, finally I get to go out with her. Like, yes, this is
Right.
the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then his bubble get popped because she
Right.
ain't feeling a date, or you assumed that.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people go through that too. I've been in situations like that too. Like, you can't even smile at people nowadays because
can't
they
even
think
give
that you
eye
ready to walk
contact.
down the aisle just because you smiled at them.
But on the flip side, you have people out here treating people like girlfriends and boyfriends. And then when you're like caught up in it, like, yes, we're together. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. I just took you out on 95 days and on vacation and met your family and
Right,
took
right.
you out for Valentine's Day. I didn't
But
mean
we
we were
not
in a
a couple.
relationship.
So now we're talking about mixed messages. So let me give you guys this scenario. I had a conversation one time, and it came up where a male was saying like, yeah, you know, I can have sex with a lady and, you know, we gonna cuddle after, but she need to know that I'm not her man. I said, so why you cuddling then? That cuddling is a term of
very
endearment,
Soul tie.
intimate, and it can lead another person on, because when you're cuddling, you have body heat. You know, you're laying in places that is, you know, just made for one particular person. In the nook, you know, the nook is special. Not everybody need to be in the nook.
Right. You over there being a little spoon.
A little spooning, just a little bit of spooning. And I said, I had my hand up. I was like, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Why are you spooning and, you know, cuddling with this person if it's just a hit it and quit it situation? You're going to give the person the wrong idea. So oftentimes there's a lot of people who send out mixed messages, think, you know, to that other person to have them think that they're special and they're the only one.
When they not.
When they not.
That's why, I mean, honestly, the friends with benefits or with these casual situations, it's not cut out for everybody.
No,
but
it's not.
and not everyone. A lot of people feel like, oh, I can do it. You're not built for it.
You're not built for it.
So I've told like my friends and stuff like that, like, okay, even if you are really feeling this guy, don't show him. Control your emotions until y'all have a conversation about what it is, so you don't end up with egg on your face.
That's a great way of putting it. Great way of putting it.
Control you can be madly in love with him. If you can't have a conversation, are you my man? What is this? So I'm not. We're together. All right, cool. We're not together. Now you got to make a decision once he says y'all not together.
It's like, don't show you're thirsty.
Right.
Like you never had water before. Like you never had a guy interested in you
Some
before.
women do. And go and look to sabotage the person's whole life.
If it doesn't work out.
Just because they expected one thing and got something else, like with the egg on their face. Now you looking like Boo Boo the Fool because you expected something else.
So I'm hearing, be patient, not show emotion until it's time, but also communicate and comprehend what the person is saying to you.
Right.
So you can make a proper assessment of the situation.
And I think
say
the
yes.
reason that happens a lot is because people are so pressured by others around them to be in a relationship, to get married, to have kids. So they start putting pressure on the person that they're with. And it's almost like, I got to keep you. This has to work because this is going on and it needs to be on this timeline. So I'm going to ignore the fact that you're saying you don't want to be with me. And I'm going to change your mind because I have to have this work. And it's like, No, you don't.
It's called desperation.
Relax.
That's
like,
exactly
stop
what
letting
that
the
is.
outside influences like determine the trajectory of who you with.
Right.
That's like keeping up with the Joneses.
Right,
You see all
yeah.
your friends and everybody getting married and having families
Right.
and starting their life, so you rushing yours.
Right.
When all
Yeah.
when all
Right.
good things come to those who wait.
Right. And people are putting pressure, but at the end of the day, it's you and that person. Those other people ain't got to deal with what you dealing with in this relationship. So go ahead and let everybody else dictate what you're doing.
Not at all. Yeah. Be on your own timeline based on the scope of your friendship, hopefully turning into a relationship. Your timeline cannot and will not match anybody else's. So if once you start comparing, you've doomed yourself. Because your significant other is going to feel the pressure and pump the brakes on you, and you're not going to even know why.
Yep.
This is true.
You know, so take your time, get to know a person, ask the necessary questions. You know, and we're going to give you some examples of questions to ask, because there's questions you shouldn't ask when you getting to know someone. Like, there's appropriate questions and then there's inappropriate questions based on timing. You know, the first date shouldn't be, so how much money you make? Not a question to ask.
Right.
You know, what is your profession? What do you like to do? What kind of work do you do?
Actually,
Where do you
but
see
that whole thing
yourself?
with like the profession, that's on a lot of people's lists. When it really comes down, meet the expectations of your own list before you putting this list on other people.
I wanted to bring that up. Yes, I'm glad you
So
said
people got
that.
this. How much money? You have to make this amount of money.
Are
you
you
looking
making
for a
it?
guy with 6 figures and you're making all of
Two.
$25,000 a year.
You don't even have a seat at the table,
Right.
with the 6 figures.
Right. So it's like, sis, if he loses his job, y'all are sinking because you can't hold it down.
Ship wrecked.
Right.
At the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
Can't pay for
I
nothing.
definitely agree with that.
I agree
yes,
with that too.
yes. Meet
Don't got
the
a
expectations
pot to
of your
piss in or
own
a window
list.
to throw it out of.
You out here making lists and stuff. Make sure you up to par on your own list.
So let's talk about some of the things that may be on a person's list. So we talked about money. What about having your own home? I need this person to have their own place.
I live with my mama, so how I look talking about you got to have your own home and I live with my mother.
Yeah, well, this is true. This is true.
Like what?
This is true.
Well, I'll say this. When I met my now husband, they had their own place. You know, I went and got my own place too.
Right.
I got in trouble for it by my mama because she didn't want me to move out. But I said, I got to do this because I wanted to be equal to him, not chasing him. Like, don't get it mixed up. I wasn't chasing him. However, I wanted to be an equal.
Right. Show that you can bring stuff to the table too.
I can have my own place too.
Right. And I necessarily don't need you if this don't work. Because
Okay,
I can
then.
still
Hold this down.
bring stuff to
Hold
the
it
table.
down. I think that's sexy though, when a woman doesn't have to flaunt what she has
Nope.
to her mate.
I don't think so neither.
You just do you, not for show, but just for the sake of you just taking care of yourself. The opposite sex, or people are attracted to a person who is able to take care of themselves, period.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think people need to be on the same page, though, honestly. That's what it boils down to. We all need to be, if we're dating and we're doing this dating thing, we all need to be on the same page. We need to make sure that we're striving for the same thing, because if not, then what are we here
doing?
for? Why are we even here? Are we wasting time? You know what I mean? Are we blocking somebody else's time that could be here, taking up the space that you taking up right now? Like,
It's funny you said that, because that's another expectation, time. People put time limits on relationships and where you should be at a certain time frame. Like, okay, I'm going to graduate school, or I'm going to work my job, and then in 2 years, I'm going to meet my whomever, and then in 3 years after that, I'll be pregnant, and then after that, they just have a whole ladder
I was
stuff.
like, ooh, 21, I'm gonna be married. Then it was like 25, I'm gonna be married. 28, I'm gonna be married. Now I'm like 31. All right, well, you know what? I'll just let it go. When it happens, it happens. You know, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen because it's not my timeline.
No,
Right.
it's
not my timeline.
And when it comes to marriage, it's very, very, very important who you marry.
Mm-hmm.
I think people get marriage misconstrued. I think people chase down. I feel like some women chase down the ring before even chasing down the marriage.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they just want the ring on their finger, or sometimes they just want the title that they're married. You know what I mean? And not
knowing what
necessarily
comes with it.
paying attention to what's coming with it
Right.
and what your expectations are as a wife.
Right.
Because now your whole title done changed. And you're expected to do a lot of things, just like you're expecting that husband
Right.
to do a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like it starts to get real touchy, and especially when kids are involved.
Right. We're gonna get to that because we have a special we have scenarios with the children involved. That's why having that communicative piece in the very beginning, in the dating portion of relationships, so that you can be on the same page and everyone's wants and needs can be heard, realized, and then met. You know, and that thing about honesty, you know, because sometimes people just want to have a good time and not be in a full-fledged relationship. And if a person tells you that, that's something to know. So when people have lists, you know, having expectations is always good. It's good to have expectations. However, they can't be rigid. You know, sometimes you could be sent a person who's just right for you, but because of your list, you will discount and dismiss that person because that person didn't meet your list.
Well, I don't know, because here's the thing. Right?
What's the thing?
I do have a list.
Okay.
My list has evolved. It has changed. But there are certain things, like, as far as like looks, and it may sound shallow, but you're attracted to who you're attracted to, right? So I have that. I do have a list of the attributes as far as not necessarily the career, but like, you know, all of that, like education and stuff like that. But my list, a lot of my list is what I already bring to the table.
Right.
But the piece of the list that is really important to me now is how that person makes me feel.
Right.
And I think that's the piece that people are missing, because they're getting this person that looks good on paper, looks good physically, and they're missing that one piece of like, how does that person make you feel?
Right. That's important.
And it's kind of like, and I think the list, like, you don't necessarily have to write down that list, but you start figuring it out by realizing what you don't want. Interacting with people and figuring out what you don't want.
Right. Should that person make you feel secure in yourself? You know, should that person help you feel or make you feel loved and wanted and even needed to a certain degree? And I say that lightly because when you enter into a relationship, it shouldn't be because you need somebody. It's because you want that companionship. So that's why I say that lightly. When you're making that list, you know, it's just a lot of things that we overlook that are important, you know, even if it comes down to careers, right? That that person should be employable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They don't have to make 6 figures, but a person who is willing to do whatever, not do whatever, but who is willing to
You could be
provide for
dating
their family
James St. Patrick.
legally.
Right.
You know, but a person who is willing to do whatever it takes legally to provide for their family, you can't look down on them just because they have 3 jobs. That's a hard-working person. A person who's maybe working 16 hours to put food on the table, you don't discount them for a person that be making 6 figures but make you feel like crap.
Right.
A person who don't come home. or a person who don't return calls or texts. You know, so we have to look at these lists, you know, in a way where it's like a checks and balance. You know, has to be.
Because I think what I am thankful for is the plan that I had in mind for myself didn't work out the way it was supposed to be. Because what I can say now, at 31 years old, my education, for the most part, what I'm doing now educationally, that's literally an option. But education, for the most part, is out the way. Career established. I am more focused. That stuff is out of the way. I'm not having to figure that out as I go, and having another person along with me trying to figure that out. Like we have that kind of together. But there are still certain things I don't want. Like I look at certain people and I'm like, yeah, I know I don't want someone that is working a 16-hour day. I know I don't want that one. I mean, if you want to make 6 figures, I ain't going to turn it away. By no means.
Okay.
But, you know, there's just certain things. And I think people do have a list that is to their detriment. And I think the list is to their detriment because they're not meeting the list. Like if you have everything on this list, if you have the 6 figures and the this and that, and that's what you want in someone, go for it. The problem comes in is when you're being very rigid and you're not meeting that. And you're not meeting that. So you're turning down, you know, you're like, I want this kind of guy, but you're turning down the guy that has everything else on your list checked off except for how they look. That's where the problem comes in. Okay, this person doesn't look like how I want them to look, but they have everything else on it. And this person treats me like a queen. Everyone else I've dealt with treated me like trash, but I'm gonna turn them because I don't like how they look. Yeah. All right.
That's called
chasing. That's called chasing down eye candy when you should be looking for soul food. That's what that's called.
On my plate.
That is what that's called. How many times we probably passed up our Mr. Right because he wasn't packaged the right way? How many times that probably happened?
Right.
And now we're sitting back kicking ourselves in the behind. We will never admit it to nobody. But you're kicking yourself in the behind like, dag, that was a good one.
Red velvet cake.
I let them get away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to check ourselves and our list sometimes, because I do agree with that. The list can be to your detriment because you're looking for one thing over here when you're not going to get it over there when it's been in your face the whole time.
And that's what we're talking about, healthy relationships, or in this particular case, a healthy list. You're able to compromise.
Because no one's going to meet everything on your list.
Nope.
Nobody. You don't meet everything on someone else's list.
I was just about to say that. You took the words out my mouth. That is absolutely true. It's true.
Like the most important thing for me is for how my mate makes me feel. Like, for example, I'm established enough to take care of whatever I need to take care of, and they are too. However, how they make me feel is more important. Like if you can make a whole lot of money and be this prime person, but if you make me feel like trash, or you have me questioning my own feelings about myself, my self-esteem, you can take your money and everything else and walk out the door. Because character means everything to me. You know, how you treat me and how you make me feel. Money, you can't buy me a pocketbook and expect those feelings to go away, or a pair of pretty shoes and then everything is all good.
Yeah.
You know, material things does not supplement true love or real like for a person.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that. Again, you don't meet everyone's list. I check off everyone's item on the list, and it is, you know, how someone makes you feel should trump everything.
Right.
Like, for instance, you're a flawed individual. So I had to, my man knew from the gate. Let me tell you something. You gonna see me with my real hair. You gonna see me with no makeup.
yes.
You gonna see all of that.
Let me tell you.
So you not surprised. Me, that's never been my thing, weaves and makeup anyway.
Right.
But I'm not gonna come out here with a weave all the time, face beat all the time, and then a year later you see me without it, and you're like, who is this?
I've tried just to switch things up, just because sometimes I just get bored with me. You know what I mean? Whether it's a hair color, whether it's a hairstyle, whether it's a new style of clothes. And my man told me to, where you get that from? Make sure you give it right back. I'm like, but I thought you don't like this kind of stuff. Okay, fine. And it's like, I had a wig, all the ladies are wearing their wigs and everything and flinging, flowing. I got hair, so that's not an issue. But, I just wanted to switch it up and try something different. This was the new wave. And let me tell you, I came back from the hairdresser. I put a do-rag over my head because I was like worried about what they were going to say to me, like, because they love the natural look. Yeah. But I was just trying something different, just to do something, okay, let me just try this. And then when I got to the door, it hit me like, now once you walk in this door, your man and your two sons are going to be like, what is that? And then it was odd because I walked in the house and they knew I went to the hairdresser and I had a do-rag over my head. It was like, what's underneath it? I said, huh? What'd you say now? What's underneath that? I said, hair. Let me see it. He said, if you don't go upstairs and take whatever that is off your head. I was like, you don't like it? You like, no. I was like, okay. All that money down the drain. Flung that thing in the back of my closet, yo.
Right, because if you can't accept me for me and all my naturalness,
right,
this ain't gonna work.
But this is me trying to, do something
Spruce
different.
it up a little.
Right.
They said, we don't need no sprucing in that department. Get on out of here. And I can appreciate that because mine doesn't go with the norm or what we consider the norm, what we think most people may like or want out of a female. So those who, I'm not knocking nobody that does that. It is what it is, but a lot of people put on a whole lot of, a mask, a fake person to get them. You think of,
and you got to maintain it, just like you said with the cooking. If you're going to cook every day, if you're going to, you're going to have this whole face and be beaten. You got to maintain that because the moment you don't, they're like, who is this?
They be going looking at you from, I'm going to get you sucker.
Right. Who is this? This is not who I thought.
With the fake hair.
Fake eyes. She had fake eyes. She had fake legs. It was fake everything. I remember I went to an event this summer. I had my makeup on. I was with my guy and everybody's, oh my gosh, you look so nice. You look so beautiful. He's like, no, you don't. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, your hair looks good. No, it doesn't. Yeah, they're like, you look great. He's like, you look crazy. And the whole time I'm laughing because I felt like it because that's not me.
It's not you.
It's not me. I felt it. So immediately after it was over, it was like, all right.
Exactly.
Then he was like, what is all this? Whose hair is this in the bathroom? Eyelashes? What's going on? I'm like, it was a good laugh, but I'm like, but it made me feel good because I'm like, at the same time, he appreciates me. Right. He was able to see me.
Right.
And I'm like, if you can't accept me for me,
right,
that means me and my hair out, maybe a ponytail, messy ponytail, some sweats, and maybe some Dorito stains on my shirt.
That's real.
If you can't accept me for that, then listen.
That is real. And that's what we're saying. Like, when you have these conversations and you're communicating with people, they don't, like, at this day and age, nobody wants to date that perfect person, the fake person, They want to date
some
the real
people
person.
Do for Instagram.
Well, good luck with that.
We talking about these people out here struggling, looking for love. Struggling, don't know what they doing wrong. They thinking they doing everything right, but I things think, just ain't working out.
But I think that's what you said is looking for love. It's like, no, just stop looking.
That's
love
very
will
true.
Find you.
That
stop
is very
looking.
true.
Love
it's
will
like,
find you.
I explained this to my friend one day. I was like, it's like when you have your phone in your hand and you're looking for your phone. Where's my phone? You using the flashlight on your phone, look for your phone. And then the moment you're like, all right, forget it. You stop trying to look for it. Oh, it's in my hand.
Right.
Stop trying to look.
Or even when you lose your keys. And you're looking all over the place for your keys, and then you just come back and those keys was right where you had it in the first place the last time you touched them.
Right. You trying to stop trying to force the situation
Yeah.
because you have expectations of this person,
Right.
expectations of where you want to be, and you're forcing you forcing something. Don't force
What
it.
happened to just having fun when you go out? You know, being your unadulterated self and just having a good time, laughing, even if it's your crazy laugh. All right, I know I got a crazy laugh. Yeah, I heard it a few times. But, you know, just laughing and just having a good time. And if you're the type of person to tell jokes and they corny, so what? The person for you is going to laugh at your corny jokes.
Yep.
Or ignore you.
Or
Just be
ignore it.
This is how.
This is just what they do.
Yeah, it's just-
You know? Stay tuned to episode 5 where we continue to talk about rules of engagement in relationships, whether you're single with children, or married. There's a lot of information that we can discuss. And just make sure you stay true to yourself, comprehend what people are saying to you, and also make sure you communicate your needs to others.
See you next time.
Be a blessing.